G'day from the Park Royal Collection Hotel in beautiful Singapore. The day after, Carlos Sainz chalked up his second Formula One win. I spent some time after the race following Carlos and Lando, and I'm going to share with you what I saw in 8 seconds' time. Well, the last time Ferrari won an F1 race was going back to Austria of 2022, so it was a huge relief for Carlos to be standing up there on the podium last night here in Singapore. The mood at the track was incredible, a real big buzz around Carlos's win, and if you watch the race you'll know that the result was in the balance all the way up to that last lap. Where did I watch the last few laps? Well, I spent it in a corridor with about 50 sweaty photographers. Not a pleasant place to be. Then it was out into Parc Ferme where Carlos pulled up his car and then stood proudly on top celebrating with his team who were just meters away. After he'd been over to his team and given a few a hug, he then proceeded to pour a bit of water over his head and made this gesture. I thought he could have gone more all out with that water because out the back of the FIA garage we had drivers coming out like Liam Lawson with ice bags on their head. And yes, we all know that this is a very draining race for drivers. And quite frankly, for us media. You probably saw the podium on television, but now I'll share with you what I saw where there was hardly any media around. As they leave the podium, they come out into this corridor, which is lined with Singapore Airlines crew. They then go into a cool-down room. Now, I'm thinking the cool-down room would be no bigger than 5 or 6 square meters. From where I'm shooting from here, there were a couple of police officers, a couple of security. Lewis Hamilton's security guards were both there, and after some time Lewis was the first to emerge and walked away from me, and then a short time later we had Lando and Carlos come out. Carlos first got a hug from his press officer, and then Lando and Carlos posed for a selfie. You might have seen that up on his Instagram page. Well, that's where this shot was taken from. After that it was down to the TV media pen, so I raced out and waited out the back in the paddock, and then I realised paddock is busy, they're probably not going to walk down here, so I raced out to pit lane because often they will walk that route because there are no fans. Sure enough, the pair did emerge, each with their press officer walking down pit lane and one Netflix crew. Lando offered me this lovely photo, and as he walked past his team garage, he gave some of the guys in the garage a thumbs up. Then it was off to the TV media pen where a number of fans grabbed him on the way for an autograph. Ted Kravitz was out there doing his bit, and at that point I went back to edit. But not for long, because they were back in the press conference room doing their bits and pieces there before heading back down to the paddock for different celebration shots. Lando's was done out in pit lane in front of the garage. Zach Brown addressed all the troops and thanked them for working so hard. Oscar was out there, yes, because he had a great race. And so was Lando's dad, dressed in odd coloured shoes, and that's how you buy them. So after the celebration picture, Lando and Andre Stella and Oscar Piastri headed out on pit wall to do a little bit for social media. And then at midquarter midnight, the Ferrari crew did their celebration shot for their win. That was done in front of their hospitality suite. Now that meant that we didn't leave the track till probably 1 a.m. last night, and then there was another 2 hours of editing thereafter. But let me share some more of my observations with you. Over the weekend, race day, we saw the drivers' parade and some great old cars there. Look at the car that Yuki Tsunoda was provided with, the smallest in the field, and right behind him, Max Verstappen in the largest. Charles was in a Ferrari and he even signed the dashboard for his owner. And going out to the cars, I noticed Fernando Alonso walked past his completely. I did mention, hey, your car's back there, and he said, I'm going up here. Why? Well, he wanted to thank Alex Albon for this pair of new shoes. This is Alex Albon's new collaboration. I got a pair and they are absolutely gorgeous. And were any other drivers wearing those shoes? Yes, Yuki Tsunoda had a pair. Just prior to the start of the race, I went up to the first turn tower and took this gorgeous panorama shot. This is about 8 different images stitched together. You can get onto kimellman.com if you want to buy one of these. It'd look great on your home or office wall. Let's jump back to Saturday now, and quali, wasn't it interesting? Of course, there were many highs and lows. For me, it was Liam Lawson's magnificent performance getting into Q3. It was also the sadness of Max failing to make Q3. Who would have thought that? And of course, Lance Stroll's crash was a biggie. And one photographer told me that he was peppered with bits of car coming through the wire. Jumping back to Thursday night, I witnessed this encounter between Pedro de la Rosa and Gunther Steiner. And watching it from, 5 metres away, it looked like they were having an argument. But I had a chat with Pedro the day after. So what was the story there? And he said, no, we're all fine. And at the end you can see that it was amicable as they passed, so I don't think there was anything in that. Now at this point I need to thank the Swiss hotel, the Stamford, for allowing me to have, get this, the presidential suite for 90 minutes on Friday night. This is on the 66th floor of the beautiful Stamford Hotel. I had the whole presidential suite to myself. Really, I only used the balcony to shoot these glorious shots, including this panorama, which is also available at kimellman.com. But the shots you get from up there are quite unlike anywhere else, because you are right over the top of this turn. You can see the Anderson Road Bridge. Well, you can virtually see just about every bit of the track. And really, Singapore as a city comes alive at night. It's just gorgeous from that height. Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas would have liked to have been up there throwing paper planes. They were actually doing that on Thursday, Media Day, in the paddock. But from the 66th floor, my gosh, they could have gone for kilometres. That same day, Lando and Oscar were practicing their chipping out in the paddock, and quite frankly, Oscar needs a lot of work. Lando, on the other hand, was pretty good. This is one of the few races that you will not see a driver's drove video from me, because most of them walk to the track, and it's a very short walk from the Ritz-Carlton, although a couple, like George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, were ferried in by a driver with a Mercedes, as were the two Ferrari drivers. But on Sunday I watched something that we don't often see, and that was Lewis signing some autographs and posing for selfies out the front of the paddock swipe gates. And what was the reaction like? Unbelievable. The crowd were in sheer delight. A number of drivers actually did that, even a few team principals. If you want to see an F1 driver, this is the place to stand. These guys have been out here for hours and hours and hours, and they will probably be out here for another couple more. We are now at 12:30 p.m. This is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel over there. A lot of the drivers walk through here, some of them drive up, but this is definitely the place to be if you want to see drivers. And guys, who would like an F1 tab? So, well done to you all for having a great time and being so passionate about F1. Now, I mentioned Liam Lawson earlier on. He is having an absolute field day here in F1. He's gone from strength to strength over the three races that he's been in. We did see Daniel at the track. He arrived on Thursday. You could very clearly see the top of his scar under this particular brace. And I was speaking to one of the trainers who said it might be that Daniel needs a special steering wheel when he comes back, because normally I hold a steering wheel like that, but he said that this hand here might be better if it was tilted a little bit, so they may have to get a custom mould for that left-hand side of his steering wheel to make it a little bit easier for the Australian driver when he returns. Now, every time I come to this Grand Prix, I always mention the weather. It is so grueling photographing out there, and there is one thing in this paddock that we see where we see nowhere else: air conditioners. That's right, and they do provide some relief for what is a pretty uncomfortable climate if you're not used to it. It's certainly not the climate to be wearing outfits like this from Lewis Hamilton. You've got to take your hat off to him. He certainly does suffer for his fashion, although he's realistically only walking 150 metres from his car to the hospitality suite. Fashion-wise, what else did we see? Zhou Guanyu going sleeveless. Pierre Gasly dressed in Beluti, as was Esteban Ocon, who celebrated his 27th birthday on Sunday. Got this present from a fan out the front. Liam Lawson in a tropical top from AlphaTauri. And what is the go with this picture of Liam? It looks like it's been heavily photoshopped. His skin looks almost alabaster and absolutely perfect. And finally, on the fashion front, Lance Stroll and Oscar Piastri both wearing thongs, or flip-flops if you're outside of Australia. Oscar Piastri's mum was at the track along with one of his sisters. He has three. This is Hattie on the right. Charles Leclerc's girlfriend Alexandra was there. Lily was with Alex Albon. Lily was with Oscar Piastri. And Alex Albon also had his father with him. Food-wise, what was it like at the track for us? Well, we had some frozen meals that you put into a microwave, so it wasn't fantastic, but always appreciated. But I did pop into McLaren on Saturday for some beautiful sushi, and earlier in the day I photographed Karl-Heinz Hauser, who's the Michelin star chef who runs the catering for McLaren, and found him with a number of his crew wheeling shopping trolleys. They actually went to a store about 700 metres from the track, bought all their food there and wheeled it back in shopping trolleys. Now, we don't see that at any other track on the calendar. Now, still on the subject of the weather, we do sweat a lot here. The drivers sweat profusely in the car. So how do they go with the laundry? Well, almost all the time the laundry does that. And I shot one of the McLaren crew bringing in some of Lando's kit, and look at this. If you zoom in, you can see what number he was staying at the Conrad Hotel, which is a walk of maybe 300 metres to the track. Well, how do the drivers keep cool in the car, say in the garage? Normally their trainer holds a small fan which blows, I imagine, cold air in. Oh, and by the way, I asked, are there showers in those Hospitality suites, no. So none of those guys get to have a shower after a sweaty session. But have a look at Esteban's trainer Tom here. He's got a full-on blower forcing air into Esteban's cockpit. Now, what did you think of the two new liveries, the McLaren and the Williams? I thought the McLaren was just okay, not that much of a difference, but boy, I love the Williams, and I'm going to suggest they should go with that livery all the time. Photographically, it's beautiful, and I just love the pale blue with the Gulf oil orange. So much so that I've decided to use this picture for a signed print deal with Logan Sargent. Now, those will be up for sale very soon, so if you want to make sure you get your choice of number, the one you want out of the 50, head to kimellman.com, go to the shop now, and make sure you register on the signed print page to receive first notification when this print offering comes up. It's timed for the Austin race. He will be hugely popular there, so do not miss out. Now, my friends, I have to go and pack up my room here at the Park Royal, head to the airport, and it's off to Suzuka for round 16. Will Max return to the podium? I think he will. How will Liam Lawson go in his fourth race? I think he'll improve even further. And could we see Ferrari on the podium again? These questions and more will be answered in a week's time. Now, please like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, now's your chance to do it. It doesn't cost you anything. And become a member if you want to support the page. That's it for me. Here's all the important information. Thanks for watching. Well, so hard.